Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of our RTS series. This episode is going to be all about Blender, so if you were here for Unity and wanted to do some programming, go ahead and skip this video. The assets for this there's going to be a link to it in the description, so you can go and download those so you can continue on to the series. But if you want to follow along and make the assets, then please do. We will be using the Grid Modeler plugin, which is a paid plugin that's available in the Blender Marketplace. You can still make these without that. I just really prefer that, and I know quite a few of my viewers are here because of the Grid Modeler plugin. So I will be making those, and let's get started. So we need a colony HQ. Oh, I probably should back up a step. I am going with a sci-fi theme for this. I know I've called a lot of things peasants, but I'm gonna kind of curve here and just make some sci-fi type uh, items. It doesn't change the functionality of the game. This can be peasants, it can be anything. It's just the theme that I'm going with. All right, so we're going to make a colony HQ because my theme is essentially the colonizing of a planet and kind of competing forces that are fighting over the area. So I'm going just to delete these things because I don't want to see them. And let's go ahead and tab into our cube. And I want to get this sitting on the ground because my cursor is here. And then I can press A, scale that down a little bit, and kind of have a base. And I'm thinking of just kind of a giant building. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'm going to go with like a skyscraper type look. So let's go grid modeler. I'm going to put like a circle here in the middle. And if you're just now getting to use grid modeler, you select a face, right click, and select grid modeler. And if you press C, it'll bring up the circle tool. And without grid modeler, you can just place a circle here and merge the meshes. The grid modeler tool just makes it a lot easier. I'm going to do that and then press 3 to make a face. Extrude that up, and I think I want to scale it in and move it on the y-axis. And then I'll create another face here. And I'm going to try to make a square. If you right click, control click, you can select to a face there. That way the grid lines up with it. I'm going to go with this and 3 and kind of get this aligned because it's kind of all over the place. There we go. So now we have this kind of cylindrical shape leading up into this. And I'm going to go something like this and scale this in on the X. Bring this down a little bit, A, G, Z to bring it up. And I think I'm going to that lined up right there. And I'm going to make like a garage or something. So I can say like this, bring this over, down. And I'll actually bring it a little bit further out. So I can press Q to cut into the mesh. And just kind of give it that appearance that there was a door there. Maybe another one on this side. Q, there we go. And let's add a box or something coming off the side of this. Maybe something like that. Give it a little bit more geometry to make it look a little bit better. Something like that. Maybe like another little door here. And these don't have to be super detailed because they're going to be pretty high up. All right, and something on this side too. Let's make something bigger. We'll do 3, E to extrude again, SZ, bring that down. Something like that. All right. Now up here, select this, Control R, so we can get some loop cuts in it. Click, and then if we press Control B, we can, we have to click first. Control B, we can actually create bevels on these. And the cool thing is, once we have those, they're already all selected. Now we press Alt, E, Alt E, and then extrude faces along normals, and we can actually cut them in or bring them out. So I actually really like this outward look. All right, so this is our colony HQ. So this is our town center that we were kind of referencing before. I think I'm going to put a little, actually, I like it. And now that I'm done with it, I'm just going to press G, X, and I'm going to move it out of the way. And then I'm going to bring in a cube and start all over again. So next I want to have a drone factory, and this is where I'll spawn our peasants, basically the worker bees that will mine resources or construct buildings and things like that. So let's make something. Tab GZ, whoops, bring that up like this, and let's figure out what we're going to do here. So this is more of like a factory. So let's grab our face, bring that on the y-axis, bring it on the z. Let's extrude that, bring this up a little bit, maybe extrude it a little bit. And then we can actually put them over here. Let's create some like smokestack type things. So we'll create a box that comes out like this. 3, E to extrude. Extrude again, and we'll actually grab just this and bring it down a little bit. All right. Next, I'm going to select my X face here. Whoops, I need to grab that modeler. I want to create 2 smokestacks. So I'm going to do something like this. And if we press Alt and scroll wheel up, we can expand, and Control scroll wheel will adjust our grid size. So I want it to be, let's do that. So up here, like that. And then if I right click and select D, I can duplicate it. And then 3 to make the faces, E to extrude them out until they're squarish. E, S. And if you get this where it's kind of splitting like this, just Control Z and go back in and say local. Now if you E, S, made me a liar. Sorry. You can keep global. It's individual origins is what I meant. So E, S. Now you can see that these move on their own. There we go. I to inset both of these. E to extrude down. Now we've got this big looking like factory type thing. And the drones will come out, so we'll need some sort of doors on these. So let's select that bottom. And we'll make these garage door looking things. Q to cut in a little bit. Same thing on this side. Select the bottom. Q to cut into it a little bit. And we can add some. Actually, no, let's grid model. And we'll select something like that. Space to deselect it. To select it again, press D to duplicate it. Scroll wheel up to select multiple. And then if we press I and move a little bit, we'll create some shapes here, and then Q to actually cut in and give it a little bit more depth there. It's I and then SX, E to extrude up, E to extrude up, SX, bring it in, and we have a building here. All right, so we're done with that one for the moment. Set it off to the side. Next, I want to create a mining quarry so we can gather resources and not have to bring them all the way back to the town center. So Shift A, create a cube, tab to go into edit mode. As usual, bring it up. And what should we do with this one? Let's look. We're gonna make some sort of like a robotic type looking thing that kind of has the old style. I'm just looking at references over here to get ideas. So like something like that, where it has the big spinning blade and stuff on it. Doesn't need to look exactly like that, but we'll do something. So to do that, I'm going to actually take this and bring it down right below towards the ground level, because I'm just going to delete this cube out. But first I need to get a round base here. Then I can press 3, E to extrude that up, and then if I click there onto the cube and press L, delete vertices, it'll delete the whole cube, and now I have my face that I can work with. So we'll extrude this up, scale it in, extrude it up, scale it slightly in, and then I can look down on it And we can create some sort of box here. We'll start with this. Extrude that up. Grid model on that one now. Actually, let's just E, scale it out, scale it up. And we'll grab the corners here, I think, and bevel them. Something like this. All right, and now if we select the top, we want to get kind of like a big, this cube going across. E to extrude that up. We can select it with L, rotate, kind of get some sort of interesting shape here. Oops. E to extrude that. Let's scale it in a little bit. E to extrude, scale it in even more. This side, just kind of bring it out. Let's grab this grid modeler. I'm going to cut a slice into it. Something like that. Q. And then I can go down here and I can select this and adjust the depth. All right. And now I'm going to a little bit farther there. Okay. Grab here, right click grid modeler, C to make a cylinder. Do that, press 3, E to extrude, press L, G, Y, and we can bring it into here a little bit. Actually scale it down so it'll fit. Actually, I don't have to. Let's just bring it out on the x-axis. And down on the z a little bit. Now we've got that circle here. And let's see what else can we do with this. We grab all of these guys. Every little edge here going around. Actually, it'd probably be easier if I just press L to select the whole thing, and then we just Alt, Control, oops. There we go. Yep, if you just select them all and then select that loop and we do Shift Alt click, you can deselect the whole loop. And now Control B to do the bevel, and then Alt E to extrude along normals, and we'll just bring these out and then scale them in. And now we have some sort of blade looking thing. And I think that'll do it for this. I'm not super happy with this, but it'll do for now. Maybe I to inset this. Not that much. I to inset, E to extrude in a little bit, give it a little bit more geometry. Might help just a little bit. But this is a good starting point. Actually, I keep saying that, but let's add kind of like a building off to the side of it. So we're right here, just kind of make a rectangle there, press 3, E to extrude. We can bring this back over here, center it out a little bit. E to bring that up. Something like that. So if we look down at the top, we can get it lined up with the ground a little bit. There we go. Be a lot easier to work with when it's like that. E to extrude this. Actually, E. I keep saying that. E. We're gonna press I. That'll scale it in, bring it out a little bit. E to extrude. Bring this face down. It's kind of giving that factory look again. Maybe a couple smokestacks on the back here. Maybe just one. Three, E to extrude. E, S, bring it out, bring it up a little bit. I, extrude that down. All right. And I'll add a couple of doors here on the front. Q. Actually, no. Bring that back in. Something like that. All right. So there is our quarry. And I think that will do it for now. We do need to make two versions of these, though. So these are kind of our finalized versions. What we can do is Shift-D to duplicate this. Oops. What did I do? There we go. Select that back to bounding box so I can move it around. All right, so let's get that centered back up here so it's not crazy. There we go. So I need a version of this that is under construction. So to do that, I'm just going to cut the top of this off. So I can go into here and just go into Y and Z to go into wireframe mode. Select all of these. Actually, I'm going to keep the cylinder. I think that'll look cool. Delete vertices. Back into solid, and there we go. We have this, and now it's clear that it's not completely done. All right, so this is our under construction. We'll put this back over here by this guy. Same thing with this guy. Let's select it, Shift-D, GX, bring it over. And we need to make this look like it's under construction. So to do that, I'm just going to go into edit mode and just start deleting things off of it just to give it the appearance. So we don't need smokestacks. Probably get rid of this whole half of the building. Get rid of the top. Let's delete faces. And let's go ahead and delete that face too. And then I'll just add face here. Let's see what that'll do. There we go. There we go. So this is kind of half of that. It will do for now. We can always get more advanced with it later. And then this guy, Shift-D, Y, bring this over to the center. And most obvious is we're just going to get rid of the giant spinning blade thing and everything on the top. So go into edit mode. And we'll just select all of these faces. Delete faces. And we can take it a step further and we can delete down to the base here. There we go. So we've got these. Can actually probably grab these faces here and just kind of extrude them up. There we go. Actually, let's just delete this whole thing off here. There we go. All right. So now we have 3 objects that we can bring into the game. So next we need to get our materials figured out before we can do anything else. So let's go through, and these ones don't matter, but these ones do. So when we have enemies, we want to have that color coding going on. That's pretty standard throughout the series or throughout the genre. So I'm going to look at this and just kind of determine where I want my colors. And I'm thinking I'm going to put them on the outside of here. So if we go into materials, press A, we can see that we have a material on here called material. So I'm just going to rename this to base. So this is everything else, I guess. Because I'm going to go through and do we'll call this the team colors. So I can select this and I can press Alt, Shift, and just kind of keep clicking that to get the ring around here. And that's where I want the team color. So I'm going to say plus, new, call this team color, and assign it. And I can test that by deselect and selecting that that's there. So now when I go to base and hit select, you'll notice that's not highlighted. And then I can go through and I can select whatever else I want to edit. And I'm just going to use the Unity's built-in material editor to actually color these. But I'm just going to keep it pretty simple for now. I'm also going to press A on this when edit mode and go into mesh, shading, and smooth faces. And then down here with these 3 dots here, object data properties, go to normals and hit auto smooth. And now I've got this is nice and rounded, even though it's a very kind of low poly circle there. And I think I'm just going to keep it pretty simple on this. So we'll go grab the doors. And we'll add a material for the doors. Maybe change a color for the base here. Just the more things we add on here, the more we can. The cylinder. Doesn't really matter because you won't be, unless you're really paying attention to these in side of Unity. And I didn't set my doors, so I'm going to go through and do that now. Select doors, assign, deselect, select. All right, and I think that's enough on that. And we'll be good there. This, I can make this whole thing one solid color while it's under construction. Okay, next we'll do this guy. And we need to have team colors on this somewhere, so I don't see a great place to do that. So what we can do is select this, say grid, oh, wrong button, grid modeler, and I can add a face here that goes all the way across. Curious, no, maybe I can't do it this way. Let's try Control R. No, it won't work that way. So grid modeler, I'll just make a line around. Something like that. Oh, it didn't take. Hit that button. Alright, so we'll grab the edge here. Drag this. So I'm going to restart this whole thing. I've kind of messed it up. And I've got it back as far as I can. Oh, no, there it went. All right. Grid modeler. Let's try this again. Let's get it right this time. I'm going to select over here, all the way across to here, space, and then press 0, and I'm going to not draw a line. There are a few kind of quirks with Grid Modeler what doesn't do exactly what you think it's going to do. So there's that. You know what? I'll just make it easy for myself, and I'm going to color this top section. And that will be our team color. So we'll need to create a base material and then a new one, and we'll say team color. Yep. Can do the same thing here. Just kind of grab the tops of these chimneys and assign them back to the team color. And that will help get the colors. And we'll just do another one for the doors. Name that doors, assign, deselect, select. All right, so that guy is done. Last, we got to do this one. And this will be, it's going to need team colors on it. And I think the obvious way to do that would be to set this whole thing to the team color. So we'll say new team color, assign, deselect, select. Call this thing wheel. Assign, deselect, select. Hope it didn't work. Select the wheel. Assign, deselect, select. There it goes. All right. And over here, we can assign the chimney to the team colors like we did before, just to have that extra little bit. Assign, deselect, select. Okay. Maybe add some for the doors. All right. So now we've got our 3 objects here. We'll keep our under constructions ones just kind of a flat color. Keep it easy. And I think we are ready to start doing our exports. So a few things to check. First of all, let's get these. We've got a few of these that we still need to do the mesh and shading smooth. And switching this over to auto smooth. Makes things look a lot better. Shading smooth. Auto smooth. Okay. Don't think this needs it. Doesn't have any rounded edges. This one does though. A mesh, shading smooth. Okay. I spoke a little too soon. I want one more asset while we're here, and that is the actual drones themselves, the ones that are going to do the mining construction. So I'm going to go mesh, cube, and use grid modeler again. And I think I'm going to turn a mirror modifier on for this. So we'll do mirror, and we always mirror, or at least I always mirror across the x-axis. I'll turn on bisect and clipping. And I want like a plane type thing. I'm going to hide the rest of these so I can actually see. I want like a plane with like some propellers. Something that indicates that it's kind of flying. All right, grid modeler. All right, so let's do something like this. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Back like that. We'll do some kind of like this maybe. There we go. Press 3. We'll make our faces here. If we extrude across, they'll combine. I can bring this whole thing in a little bit. And then if I press L on that cube, I can delete the cube and get rid of it. So I did this. I want to have some wings coming off of this. And probably the best way to do that would be to look at it from the top. And we'll say something like this. Three, E to extrude it. And I can L and select this whole thing and take it down a bit. And then I want to select here. I want to select this bottom, scale it up, and I'm going to press C and create a big propeller. Might be too big. Something like that. Then I can right click and just kind of place it where I want it. And what about there? If I press 3 and then I to inset this, I can delete this face. Whoops, delete. I don't want to delete the whole thing. Why is that doing that? Only faces, there we go. So I got my face deleted, and now I can control click and E to extrude that up. Press the whole thing, bring it down. I'll actually bring it out on the x-axis a little bit. Actually, I want to bring it in. I want it to be flush with that. And I can clean this up by saying grid modeler. And I'll just go like this. Select all of that, and then press Q. And it's gone. Now in here, I want to put some sort of something that kind of resembles a propeller. Grid model on this, select the bottom there. Scale this out, and if I press C, I can kind of select the center here, I think. Yeah, that's about the center. 3, E to extrude that down. And we'll actually extrude. Is that about flush? Just bring that up a little bit. And grid modeler. Select. Just need to put this at an angle. I think it'd be kind of cool at an angle. Something like this. Where it's kind of attached to the edge here. There we go. 3, E to extrude. Keep that buried in there. But we'll be seeing this most of the time from the top angle, and that looks kind of cool. Next, we'll want to actually add the propellers. So I'll do it from the bottom. And I want kind of a, I think a propeller-like shape, I guess. Let's get better angle here. So I'll do something like this. I can go into the edge a little bit there. Something like that. And then if I right click it and I press B, I can bevel it. And I can press 3, and I'm actually just going to scale it up a little bit. Then 3, or I already did that, 3, GZ. Sorry, E, up, bring that up a little bit. There we go. And I can just create a few more of these. So Shift E, rotate Z. Try that again, Shift E, rotate Z. Shift D, rotate Z, rotate, Shift D, and then rotate again. There you go. So here's something that looks kind of interesting there on the edges. Just gotta add a little bit more to this. So this looks really weird because it's so boxy. If I grab the bottom here, I can bevel this in a bit. It gives a much better look. Grab the back here. I'm gonna cut into the back to kind of put like some thrusters or something back here. Q, way too far. Let's do that. Again, grid modeler can be a finicky tool. So what I'll do instead is I will press 0 and make that, and then extrude this out and also get a similar effect. Scale that up a little bit. We add like a divot or something here. There we go. And then back here we can add some thrusters. So like put it right here, and then maybe duplicate another one. Set this one a little bit smaller. Then I'll press 3, E to extrude, scale them out a little bit. I to inset, E to extrude back in. And we'll want to do this on individual origins. We have something that looks kind of decent here. Oops. Grid model here. I'm gonna add kind of cut into it, make a little face, like the windshield. There's a Q. And then maybe some like attachments down here. You extrude. Grab that back edge and bring it up a little bit. And maybe select the front. And we could use this for like mining attachments or guns or whatever. And set that just a little bit. There we go. We have a very basic little drone here. And if we go in here, I want to do, of course, the mesh smoothing. Smooth faces. And auto smooth. Now we've got our rounded edges there and our guns and everything. Everything's looking pretty decent. All right, I'm going to go ahead and apply my mirror modifier. And now we can go in and just kind of figure out what we're doing for our editing. So I'm going to do our materials like this. This is going to be my teams marker. So we have our base material, and now we have teams marker, assign, deselect, select, make sure that's working. And maybe something for the windshield. Assign, deselect, select, deselect. And I think that will do it. I'm going to move this up a bit though. So the bottom is there. Now we can bring everything back in. We have to get all of our sizing correct now, because that does not need to be anywhere near as big as the other buildings. So if we press in, we bring out our transforms and we kind of look at things. So I can see that this is 3.84 meters tall, but I'm American and that doesn't mean anything to me. So I'm going to go over to our units, switch into Imperial. So I can see it's 12 feet tall. It doesn't have to be super realistic, but we can go ahead and make it that way. So, I mean, we can make that, let's call it 50 feet tall. It's still very small for what it actually is. But we'll grab all of these and scale them up. Move this guy out of the way. Let's get all of them up. Something large. Get spread back out. All right. We just kind of want to get everything lined up on the size that it needs to be for this. And this looks like it's about the right size now to be working with buildings of this size. All right, so now we can go ahead and get started with exporting. So we're going to export each of these individually, and I would recommend naming them. Just kind of helps. So this would be HQ. This would be mining, quarry. This was drone depot. Drone. Mining, quarry. Under construction. Drone depot under construction. And HQ under construction. All right, now that we got this done, we can go ahead and start with the exports. Now that we have all of our sizing set, we want to press A and then Control A and do rotation and scale. This way the scale is set to 1 on these and is not going to come in all skewed. Before that, you can see that my scale was all over the place. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. So if that's not set to 1, then it can cause issues coming in. So now we can export these one by one. So we say File, Export, FBX. We're going to export HQ. I'm going to put it in my folder for this. So I'm going to export this into here. So with this being Grid Modeler, there are a couple special things that we need to do. Well, first off, let's just talk about the things that are special for Unity. So of course, I'm going to do just a selected object. I also want to do Apply Transform. This is an experimental thing in Blender, but essentially it switches around the axes, where Blender uses a Z-axis for up and down, Unity uses Y. So this allows us to flip that around and apply the transform so these come in up and down. Next, you've got Bake Animation. If we have animations, it's going to be there. We don't have to have that on. But what we want to do is triangulate faces. So when we export these, because when working with Grid Modeler, you end up with a lot of what's called n-gons, which they're not really polys, they're just really bizarre shapes, and Unity does okay with that, but if you're exporting and taking it to something like Substance or anything like that, then it can kind of cause some issues. You'll end up with faces, phantom faces that are there in Substance but aren't there in Unity or within Blender, and it's just really strange. So this, from my experience, seems to take care of that. So now that we've got those selected, I can press Export FBX, and we can bring that first one in and test it out. Another issue with Grid Modeler sometimes is we end up with inverted normals. So I can check that really quick by selecting this. I pressed the wrong one. I need to be in edit mode to see it. There we go. Selecting this and pressing that to see the normals. You'll notice right now I don't actually see any green lines coming out of that, but that may be because it's absolutely massive. So let's increase the size on these. And it seems like they're all on the wrong side. So to test that, I can just say mesh normals, flip, and you see they all got longer because they were all on the wrong side. And to just kind of fix all of it, we just say mesh normals and recalculate outside, and that should fix most cases. So we'll just want to do that for all of these. Mesh normals, recalculate outside. Mesh normals, recalculate outside. I probably can just select all. There we go. Mesh normals, recalculate outside. And that should fix it in most cases. And we'll want to go through and select all of these and do U, Smart UV Project, and we'll want to set this to 0.001, and do our UV export. So when we do the materials inside of Blender, they are correct. And then get all these exported. Oh, I gotta do the drone too. File, export FBX, and you're gonna see that I've got some duplicates in here. It's because I forgot to do the UVs before I exported them, so I had to step back and do this again. So that is HQ under construction. HQ. Quarry. All right, now we can jump back over in Unity and get these imported. So we can just drag all of these in. I've created a folder called models, buildings and vehicles. I'm going to put my drone inside of vehicles and everything else inside of buildings. So I've got these brought in. I'm going to go ahead and add some materials to this. So let's go over here. I think we do have materials folder. We do. So right now we just have like blue and stuff. So I can drag these on and place this. So if that would be blue, we can also create some more in-depth materials. So say we wanted to do, let me grab something that's kind of realistic. Not really the style I'm going here for, but I wanted to show an example of now that we've done the UV unwrapping and gone to all the trouble to set these materials up, that we can actually bring in something decent. So I'm going to do, we'll just do a medieval metal is what we're going to do, which is just a folder. So these are materials I pulled off of textures.com. So create material, and we'll call this metal. And this is just kind of a test. So if I drag this and I put this right there on the base there, I can drag this up to the albedo. I need to make this smaller so I can see what these are. I've got a metallic, got a normal, which we'll have to fix. And our roughness doesn't matter all that much. We don't have a spot for it. But you can see this tiles and looks correct as it comes in. So that's how you would do this with Grid Modeler, is just that Smart UV Project, and you put the 0.1 on the island size. That way, or not the island size, but the island margins. That way there's no overlapping edges. And you get a pretty decent ability to apply materials in here. And I'll probably do a standalone material on this just to kind of explain that a bit more. But for now, I'm just going to do some basic colors. I'm going to add in like a glass-like material. Or maybe like we already kind of got iron in here. Let's just do the iron for this. So we got that, and then maybe a blue for the base here as well. Iron for the doors. So that'll be fine. Like, it doesn't have to be super fancy. And then we can go through and do the rest of our buildings how you guys want to do them. I think that about covers it for this one. I'm going to go through on my own and get the rest of these kind of colored and stuff. And we can touch base on how to do like the team colors and things in a later video. If you are still here at this about 45-minute mark or so, I applaud you. I don't expect anyone to actually make it this far. But if you do, just wanted to say we have a Discord server up, so feel free to join that and join the community, and we can talk about projects in there and upcoming things. And I also set up a Patreon If you guys are interested in joining that, I've been uploading assets and finished tutorials and stuff in there for you to have access to. And thanks for watching. This has been a long one. Hope to see you next time.